All right, this is NC Hammer Crypto. My name is Neil, where we keep technical analysis short and sweet, and Bitcoin is clearly doing a very nice holding of support on this upward trend line. This red trend line is kind of what we are expecting it to follow through with, whether it be creeping up slowly, maybe a little bit of rejection trying to push underneath that before ultimately popping up, similar to what we see right here, just a really elongated version of it. So we can see it had that major push down, pushed back up a little bit, and then had a little push down before ultimately it could not push any further and pushed up. We are over the 200 EMA. We are holding pretty nice support on the upward trend line, just keeping in mind the potential retrace could still be 108. And I keep recommending Torn or Tornado Cash. You say, Neil, you just told me to buy yesterday multiple times. I say, yeah, we are still holding above this upward trend line. The volume is picking up, and it may not show it on this chart, but let's check as we put in the relative strength index. Now we have 2, and we are clearly right back underneath the 50, which is a good spot to be at, which is necessary for the market to have its retracement, so we can have the people who did not enter have the possibility of still entering in. We touched that 200 EMA, got that major support, pushed right up over this upward trend line. And if we hold above this and start seeing the volume increase, you'll most likely see it pushing back over this previous high. The $11 mark is what we really need to maintain over. And once it gets over that, the sky is the limit for Tornado. Moving right into Quantum, or QNT. QNT had that major pullback as it did not break that previous high. It lets you have the opportunity to exit your trade, still in profit from the previous high. If you did not exit, it just had its pullback, its correction, which is necessary. You could draw another upward trend line if it holds this point to consider this a little bit stronger support than this previous black trend line. So if we do that, we kind of want it to see it stay above that, or at least within this range. If we break below that, we pretty much have to make it past this 200 EMA and hold strongly underneath the 200 EMA, which ultimately would mean that Bitcoin would have to drop to 108,000 and then potentially a little bit lower, taking all that liquidity from all the people who are scared and want to sell out and don't believe in the cryptocurrency that they are buying. And then immediately after it sweeps liquidity, it usually typically takes off back to the upside very quickly. So then you say, oh, I want to re-enter after losing your thousands of dollars, and then you enter just to try and gain back the money that you had lost on the previous way up. Again, always diversify your portfolio. What I'd be looking at this bigger picture, you see there's this orange line testing these downward highs, and we broke over that, broke underneath it once more, tested that low, and then broke over. We had a new downward trend line and this previous downward trend line, which it held exactly at that support before pushing up. Now we are trying to create a new trend line pushing upwards. We have 1, 2, and 3 touches. Typically 3 touches would mean a break to whatever side. However, we've seen 7 to 14 touches. XCN had like, I don't know, a ridiculous amount of touches before ultimately just pushing downwards. But we want to see it hold this black trend line, which I will now make a different color so you can see it a little bit better. There's the yellow. We want to stay above that yellow, ultimately above the 200 EMA. If it breaks a little bit lower, we could even be retesting the $83 mark, which ultimately means Bitcoin is dropping as well before the pump. But if you've been holding on to your crypto for this long, just hold on a little bit longer, and you will see the profits start to pour in. Moving on over to Toshi, a meme coin. We had a major pump along with Spell as well. And there's not the best information to be going off of. We do have the upward trend line. We wanted to see that it would hold above this, which it had that push up. So then it had the consolidation above the CM Guppy, could not push below the CM Guppy, and ultimately pushed up to this upward trend line that we previously had. And once we get above this, the next stop would most likely be right in this area around the 0.007. And if we can break above this and close and hold, then we can expect that next push up to 0.0008 and beyond for Toshi. And you could actually consider this a bigger inverse head and shoulders. So let's say, whoops, let's get this correct here. That is incorrect. Here's the shoulder. This, and then this being the other shoulder. Somewhat similar to this, a bigger inverse head and shoulders. And when we see this typical pattern, we see a major pump similar to this, breaking over the previous high back here on May 8th, pushing it all the way up to 0.0009, which is roughly, if you get in at that entry, 127%. So say we break here, minimum expectation 36%. The next push would be around 84%. However, keeping in mind this is a meme coin for Coinbase. Moving on over to IOTX. IOTX is getting very nice and stable, similar to like what we've seen with Tornado Cash. Broke over the downward trend line, had the consolidation. Now we are flirting with the 200 EMA here. It broke up over, got rejected, stayed real close and tight to the 200 EMA, broke up over massively, got rejected once more, broke up over again, and volume is picking up, and we are holding this orange upward trend line. So when we can close and get a very nice close above this 200 EMA, now that 200 EMA is going to be support, ultimately pushing this back up towards the 5 cent mark from the current 3 cent price. However, 5 cents is not the top. The top is way up here. So 3 cents going potentially to 50. The next major resistance we would have is around the 7 cent mark, and the first major resistance is probably right here around 0.53 for IOTX. Moving on over to BNT. BNT, very, very healthy. We see just with all the stuff taken off, clearly there is an upward trend going here. And when we see that happening, we like to see it hold support. So ignoring all this BS that's in here, let's start from the bottom where we had our entry, this orange box right here on April 17th. If you are in my signal channel, we had that entry here, and we have been in profit ever since for a swing trade. Even with that downward bull flag channel here, we pushed up out of there, doing another one within this downward channel, and we can expect to push back up towards this 0.76, and then breaking out over this area, we have to test this upward black trend line. Breaking out over that, we can expect a potential 39% increase to meet up with this previous all-time high back here in December. Sorry, not all-time high, previous high. However, you see that when we got over this area, this is where we're at right now at 0.07 or 0.70, my bad. This box right here, when we pushed up over that, we had a major push up to $1.95 from 71 cents. When you're looking at that entry, we are back at that area, 175% gain within, I think, like 2 or 3 days. Pretty substantial gains. So looking at this green box, we are right at this area where it's testing the support. Once we get that support and confirmation, we can expect start pushing upwards like we saw with the previous ones, and ultimately getting in this inverse head and shoulders, breaking up over this point around 85 cents, essentially 95 cents. When we close above that 95 cents, we can expect the next push to be potentially up to $1.32 and higher. But BNT also has an extremely long way to go to get to that all-time high of $20 from a 70-cent investment. So not a bad bet. It's been in the red for a long time, or I guess mainly just consolidation throughout all of year 2022 to 2025. But now that crypto is picking up once again, and we are starting to see that support pushing upwards, we can expect this to start getting slow, nice movement up towards the top before ultimately spiking to a new high. DNT's been in consolidation. It had that 43% pop, did not make it over the 200 EMA. We really want to see it push up over and close over that 200 EMA. Dforce, bringing this one back in, still in consolidation, still holding above the 0.024 cent area. It does have potential to push up to the 0.04, which is pretty nice gains, but I like to have a little bit more stability. As we saw, it pushed up over, had major rejection, pushed up over, major rejection. And then once it actually held support on that 200 EMA right there, then it had its actual push up before its pop. And we're still in this downward channel. So this would be the next resistance, most likely around the 0.07 on the Fibonacci retracement real quick for Dforce, top to the bottom. Now we're here. The next potential is 0.00066, but 618 is at 0.09. Currently at a 0.029 price point, but it does have a very long way to go. We do want to see it hold over that 200 EMA. As we saw, it held over the 200 EMA here. People sold out and it pushed right back below. We pushed up over that 200 EMA, but we crossed right back underneath it. So just keep Dforce in mind. Moving on over to Doge. Doge had that pump and retracement. We are creeping back up over that 21 cent mark, this green line right here, holding support on that upward trend line. The price is trying to increase. The volume is decreasing a little bit, meaning there's not a whole bunch of people selling off below this 0.2 area, the 20 cent area. So we just want to see it creep up over that, maintain support over that 200 EMA. And when that happens, we can easily see it pushing back up to 29 cents and beyond for Dogecoin, which is also a meme coin. So just keep that in mind. But it does have some very nice potential with Elon Musk backing it and all the other positive things with Doge, even though it is a meme. Inverse head and shoulders, not the best inverse head and shoulders forming out. But we could potentially see this holding this black upward trend line. As long as we're staying above 0.07, it's in the clear for a potential buy. But right now it is retracing. Also, we want to see it get above that 200 EMA. But this is getting real tight for it to be breaking over this downward trend line. So when we do get that pop, it's going to be a lot closer than we thought, hitting up to the 20 cents, maybe getting a little rejection or breaking over and then testing this as support before ultimately taking off. GRT is at an absolute low at the moment. Not a very bad entry at any point in time in this area. 350 roughly is the high, and we are not even at 10 cents. They say turn a nickel into a dime, turn a dime into 350. So all those are kind of what I'm looking at. I'll do all the X's on another video. Good luck, have fun with it, and I will see you on the next one. Like and subscribe if you want descriptions for trading Tornado Cash on MEXC in the description below, reference links and all that, blah, blah, blah. Good luck, have fun with it. See you on the next one.